Okay. Hello, everybody. Uh, Welcome to this webinar entitled Financial Dashboards for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think that we'll wait just a minute to let everyone take enough time to show up. So in case anyone's a bit late. So I will go over some housekeeping and the agenda so you know what to expect. My name is Jack, and I'm with Dataddo, data integration platform for business teams. With me today is my colleague Marek, as well as our partners Dennis and Honey from the reporting agency, a business intelligence consulting agency that specializes in Power BI and Power Apps solutions. After I go over the agenda, I'll give them a little bit more time for proper introduction. So as far as agenda goes, we expect this to take about 45 minutes, but if there are a lot of questions, maybe even up to an hour. It will be broken up into two main parts, the conceptual part and the practical part. In the conceptual part, Dennis and Honey will talk about the challenges that accounting software users face and the benefits of using a data integration tool. Then we'll talk about why we've chosen ExactOnline and Power BI to use as examples for this webinar, even though the takeaways from this webinar are generally applicable to any financial software and any business intelligence tool. In the practical part, Marek will kick things off with a demonstration of Dataddo. He will connect ExactOnline to Power BI through the Dataddo platform. And then the reporting agency will talk about working with data once it's in Power BI. They will show some dashboards and answer any questions from the audience. So at the end, after that's done, we'll be giving away a free bundle of resources to everyone in attendance. So stick around for more information on that. And before we close, we'll have an open Q&A. But if you have any questions at any time, feel free to drop them into the chat, especially during the dashboard presentation part. And we will answer those, do our best to answer those during this webinar. So before we go on to proper introductions, I just wanted to find out, because ExactOnline is quite popular in Benelux countries. Is there anybody here from non-Benelux countries? Feel free to let us know in the comments. And with that, I will give the floor to the reporting agency. You can tell us who you are.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for sharing. I will kick off. My name is Dennis de Geer. I'm one of the founders of the reporting agency. I spent my first 10 years of my career in business control and reporting functions at the various international companies. Then I moved to interim management and recruitment services and built my professional networks with CFO, finance managers, HR managers, and started my own companies some 10 years ago. The reason for me to start the reporting agency was actually a combination of my experience as entrepreneur, how to manage and how to control your company. With my controlling experience and reporting experience from my previous career, but also the more than 250 clients we served the last 10 years, or 16 years actually, I should say, and to start my own company, the reporting agency, together with Michel Buchner, who is my business partner in reporting agency. What do? We develop in co-makership with our clients dashboards, management reports in Power BI. We provide updates, could be daily, could be weekly, could be monthly, and host and maintain those dashboards. So our focus areas is SMEs and medium-sized SMEs, so small, medium enterprises. We see it as kind of an outsourcing solution for your reporting and dashboarding process. And another name to call it is RAS, Reporting as a Service. We think it's quite original. And of course, the advantages are obvious. You don't need internal resources. You don't need a Power BI license because we host all the dashboards. It saves you time, and you can focus much more on analysis only rather than putting the numbers together. So that's why we call it an outsourcing solution. Next to dashboarding and developing those and maintaining those, we provide consultancy in Power BI solutions, but also Power Apps and Power Automate solutions. But Honey will tell you later a little bit more about that.
Yeah, let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Gonnie Levy. I'm a senior consultant with the reporting agency, which means that I basically develop the dashboard for our customers, mostly in Power BI. Besides visualizing the data, I also advise and help customers in extracting and transforming the data from their source systems. And I like to do that as efficiently and most automated way possible. That can be then done by automating steps in Excel or by creating direct links to systems, for example, by using Dataddo, or automating processes in tools like Power Automate or Power Apps. We also make those. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And maybe Marek, you can finish us off.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marek Micha. I'm a partnerships manager at Dataddo. I've been with the company for about 2 years, so hopefully I know a bit or two about the platform. Dataddo is a no-code data integration platform. Basically, we allow you to automate the flow of data from over 200 different sources into either your data warehouse, your data lake, or your BI tool. Actually, we also nowadays allow connections directly to some apps, such as CRMs and so on. The setup is pretty easy, as you will see today. So hopefully, with us, you can actually focus on the core task, which is analyzing your data and hopefully visualizing it and creating insights.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you all for the introductions. Let's get right into the conceptual part of the webinar, where I'd first like to give the floor to Dennis and Gonnie. Can you summarize the challenges that users of accounting software face?
It's a good question, Jack, because there are a lot of software financial systems out there. What we see in the market is that, and from my experience as well with all those clients, the finance departments are the only one who have access to the financial software. So it's only limited to the finance manager and sometimes the assistant. And in very small companies, it's the external accountant who manages the software. So it's very limited in sharing that information to others. So there's it is either or too expensive or too complex to get the data out of it. And what I also see from my experience is that a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm talking also for myself, complain that their accountant or the finance manager don't provide them the insights they need. Most reports are very static in the standard financial software companies or software. So there are no analysis, no comparisons or trend analysis or variance analysis or benchmarking possibilities. It's very static. It looks most of the time backwards, so historic. So those built-in reports are not really suitable in really managing your company, or don't add value actually. And that is, I think, you need management information to make the right decision, and that's. Most companies or entrepreneurs struggle to make that right decision based on the right information.
Yeah, and what I also see is that the data in a financial system is usually pretty well organized. But when the reports are shared within a company, there are a lot of definitions on data. What am I looking at? Other departments look slightly different at the same thing, so they discuss about what they want to see and not about what the trend is indicating. So each department looks at its own data, its own KPIs, many times also their own systems. And there's really often a lack of a single source of truth. And if there is any, there's not one place to go to get all of the information that is necessary to really steer your company and make your decisions. So what I also see a lot in our customers is that bringing the data together, if they have it, it takes a lot of time, a lot of manual steps in Excel mostly. So there's so much time spent on creating the reports instead of analyzing them. And yeah, if they do manage to get it all in Excel, making a nice graph in Excel or Power BI is it's doable, but it's really difficult to translate it into the right KPIs, the right management info, and what kind of information does your company really need to steer the organization towards the future.
Okay, thank you. That sort of leads into my next question, which is for Marek. So when it comes to integrating data from many different sources, of course, you could do this in a few different ways. Maybe you could make a couple of comments about that, Marek, and talk about why you should even consider a data integration tool in the first place.
Yeah, sure. So as you guys mentioned, there are a lot of systems, a lot of sources that you're using. So usually when you set out to make, when you initially set out to use data to inform your decisions, you'll find that the data is all over the place. Typically, your company will have a CRM, maybe some kind of financial tool like Exact or AFAS or whatever. You also probably use some marketing platforms or advertising platforms, maybe some project management tool, and etc. And the problem is these tools actually they have all the information about your business, about your projects, about your transactions, about your customers, basically the entire organization. But these systems often don't communicate with each other in a way that you could just take all the data simply. So for that, you basically need to bring the data in a single place. Ideally, some kind of report. If you're starting out, maybe when you're more advanced, maybe a data warehouse. You basically need to build your data model somewhere. And to actually get all this data, there are three ways of gathering all this data. First one is, of course, manual extraction. You can log into each tool every day, export the data in a CSV format, then go into your, Power BI or Google Sheet, import the CSV, and so on, and rinse and repeat. But the problem is this maybe works with one system or two systems, but when you need the data more often, or when you're using 10, 15 different services, you will find that this takes up most of your work day or most of your work week, which I don't think is too much fun. So I actually hate this, all this manual work. So if you're like me, if you prefer to automate stuff, you are probably looking into other solutions. And there are basically two solutions, which is one is building your custom integration, which is fine. It can work very nicely, but it can also be quite expensive when you're integrating with, maybe you're using Python or R or whatever language. When you're integrating with a bunch of services, you basically need to get a lot of programming done, and also, even when you build it, someone has to maintain it, because we know this pretty well at Dataddo that things break, APIs change all the time, really all the time, and basically this is not the most cost efficient way, especially when someone has already done it for you and you don't actually need to reinvent the wheel. Every time you decide to analyze some data. So the third way, obviously, is using some kind of a third-party tool, some kind of a data integration platform, ideally a no-code solution, such as Dataddo, that basically does all of this for you for a fraction of the cost of the custom integration.
Okay, thanks for that. We'll obviously talk more about that in a bit. But before we dive into the practical part of the webinar, I think it's important to mention today why we've chosen to use ExactOnline and Power BI as examples. So I think I'd like to hear from Dennis and Honi on this one.
Thank you, Jack. Okay. If you why ExactOnline? Because, well, it's actually a very simple question answer to that. It's the most broadly used ERP software in the Netherlands in terms of financial software, or one of the biggest, I think. And what you also see is that, as well as Exact, but also other companies, software companies, they are forced to open their box, if you like, to make it the data available for the customers. So API developments are rapidly growing in the Netherlands and probably also abroad, to force ERP software providers to open the box and make it much more easy to get the data out. And that's why I think it's interesting to look at ExactOnline. But of course, the wisdom in this seminar or webinar, I should say, is not exclusively to ExactOnline users. You can also copy paste this to AVAS, Microsoft Dynamics 365, Salesforce, and other solutions that are out there. And actually, it also brings us, the next question is why Power BI, but that's Connie's going to answer that question.
Yeah, Power BI is one of the largest, if not the largest, business intelligence tool in the world. It's a Microsoft tool. It is included in Microsoft Office 365. You do need a license if you want to share reports, but it's a very cost-effective way of working with the BI tool. And why do we want to use Power BI over Excel, for example? It's because the possibility to combine sources, for example, a budget in Excel or for a forecast or other systems like data from a CRM tool or production tool, HR tool, is so much easier in Power BI than in Excel. The visualizations in Power BI are nicer, are better, can create buy-in from management or other non-financials. Because they just give you a lot of much more flexibility than Excel does. And you have also a lot of more combination or possibilities to combine data and transform data in Power BI. For example, if you filter on one product or department, it will filter all the visuals in Power BI, whereas in Excel, it only does that if it's coming from the same source. So it's much user-friendly. You have possibilities in terms of conditional formatting, which are way better than Excel. Flexible titles, you can switch between measures. It's just way more user-friendly. And also when combining the data, it will drastically reduce the time to create the report, as so much can be automated. And Microsoft is heavily investing in Power BI, so they're still developing, and it's combining the data from Power BI also with other tools like Power Automate and Power Apps that enables you to automate your process flows even further, saving you incredibly a lot of time.
Okay.
So
Yeah. And I think maybe to add to that, Ronnie, is also, I mean, it's not so difficult to make a Power BI dashboard, but it's also about the implementation, making sure that you do it the right way. And I think that is also one thing I like to add, but we come to that later. Coming back to Power BI again, what we see is from most of our customers are able to tune their financial reports for different users. So for instance, if you have a company with different locations, could be in Netherlands, but could be in Benelux, but could also be worldwide, you're able to access and control the rights for the different users. So for instance, someone in Amsterdam can only see the P&L for Amsterdam and compare that with the P&L for Rotterdam or for Antwerp or whatever. So the analysis and the comparison possibilities in Power BI are tremendously. And for instance, the management, top of management can see everything. So based on hierarchical levels, you can control actually the information you like to show to someone who is really using it. And that also is an advantage, I think, for the acceptance rate or the buy-in rate for the internal client, if you like, because then he only sees what he needs to see and doesn't see thousands of other reports which are not applicable for him. So you are able to control your management flow or your management information flow, and I think that's very important to really. If you want to control your company, you need to manage your information flow. It's really important.
Yeah. And in terms of benefits of combining data, the reason why we like to work with Dataddo is because in the platform, it's really a low-code way or no-code way, I should say, to create links to various source systems without writing any code. With Exact, we can just immediately start developing a dashboard, saving a lot of time and money in developing. And there's no need for the customer to build its own API. It can be literally set up in 10 minutes, which we will show later. So yeah, and as Marek mentioned as well, Exact likes to change things around in their API. If you created your API yourself, you all have to fix it yourself. So that's also another benefit of automating the combination of the data.
Okay, great.
I could also point out that, you know, Exact actually, the API is pretty complex. So what we actually provide are pre-created data sets. So you already know how to make sense in the data, because otherwise there are hundreds of different endpoints, and it can be pretty tricky to actually, you know, navigate through it when you see 100 endpoints, you know, where to start.
Sure.
So to summarize, well, at least for myself, is what does Smarter Financial Dashboard mean? It means automate as much as possible, so you can spend more time on the analysis time, which the controller or the financial guy should be doing. And I think it's also relevant to have the data in one environment, make sure you're in control of the data you like to share to whoever you want to share it with. So and make your decisions, not make your decision or your management decision based on true data or true relevant information, I must say, rather than your gut feeling, which you did use in our previous time, but you still need to use your gut feeling. I know that as an entrepreneur, but you need to support it by true data, good data, solid data.
Right. Very nice. Yes, totally agree with that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for the explanation. I think that's quite clear. If anybody's using ExactOnline, feel free to let us know in the comments. But like I said earlier, what we'll talk about today is universally applicable. I think with that being said, we can go ahead and dive into the practical part of the webinar. So before we start looking at dashboards, we need to get the data there. So I would like to pass the floor to Marek, and he can show us how Dataddo works and connect ExactOnline to Power BI.
All right, let me share my screen. I hope you guys can see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So for anyone unfamiliar with Dataddo, this is basically what the application looks like when you log in. There are three main components, which are sources, destinations, and flows. So ideally, you want to start by, you know, creating your source, defining the data that you would like to extract. Then you add your destination, and then you create a flow from that source to the destination, because without the flow, no data will actually be moving anywhere. So we can start with a source. By the way, this webinar is recorded, so this you know, you'll be able to play this afterwards. So
Everyone will get an email.
Yeah. No needs to worry if you don't catch something.
Yeah, and I also made a video including these steps as well.
Perfect. So we're gonna start by creating our first data source. As you can see, we have quite a lot of different connectors available. I think right now it's well over 200, and we have connectors for, you know, very like globally popular tools, as well as, you know, some, let's say, more regional tools that are maybe popular only in some specific countries. You know, we have, for example, Exact, we have AFAS, which are mainly used in the Netherlands, and some other ones. We are also able to create new connectors quite quickly. But for this video, we want to look at Exact. So I'm going to search for Exact here and click on it. Now that we're in this source configuration, we can choose a data set. So here, you know, we have a bunch of data sets. You can think of a data set as basically a table in ExactOnline. So that is, each data set will be a table containing some data. For example, your GL accounts, payables, receivables, and so on. For this purpose, for this demo, I will use projects. So I'm going to choose this this project data set. And on the right side, we can see all the available attributes. So we can see ID, account, account contact, account name. Ideally, for each one, we try to provide a description so that you understand what the data actually means and you know how to interpret it. Sorry. And so basically, you can still make a choice if this is the data set that you would like to use. Then you click on next, and this is a step where you need to authorize your account. So because Exact is in Dutch, I decided not to show it because things might go wrong if I try to follow it. But basically, I already have our account selected. But if you had to, you would if you didn't have an account already connected, you would click on Add New Account. You would get redirected to Exact to actually authorize the connection. So if you're not already logged in, you would be asked to put in your username and your password, and then you would basically approve Dataddo to extract your ExactOnline data. Then the next field is country. So you need to choose from which country we're actually going to list the divisions. For us, it's very simple. We only have one division in the Netherlands, and it's this Dataddo one. So we can go to next. And in this step, we see all the available attributes, and of course we can unselect some of them. For example, let's say you don't want to process some sensitive data, some personally identifiable information, and so on. Dates of birth, email addresses, salaries, and so on. You can basically exclude these from the selection. So, for example, for whatever reason, I can just exclude some data here, and in any step, I can actually test the data. By the way, this is completely mock data. Dataddo doesn't use Exact. But if we did, there would be way more projects than just 2. And actually, here I can kind of preview what data I have available. So, for example, if I decided, okay, this is not the columns that I want, I can still go back, maybe add some, maybe remove some. So this is, I would say, quite an important step. And then in the last step here, you select your snapshotting. For a lot of sources, you will just be choosing the frequency. For some other sources, you might also need to use date range. But I think for let's say the very basic ones, you will just use your frequency here, where we actually reload all the data. You can choose. I would say the most popular one would be daily. However, for example, when you're using the Dataddo free plan, you can only use the weekly frequency. So on the free trial, you can try everything, but on the free plan, you actually need to choose the weekly frequency. Now that we have the source, we can also save it. We can rename it, and then we save it. So let's do that now. And now we just need to wait a little bit for the API to provide us with the data. Okay, so I think it's been already provided. So now we can actually see the logs. So as you saw, we only had 2 projects, so there were just 2 rows. You can actually look into that, see what was happening under the hood in the logs. If you also wanted to see exactly what kind of calls we are making, you could click on test extraction. But basically the main part is we have the source, and now we want to connect it to our Power BI. So I can add this source to a flow. So now I have my source. It's the project's demo source from Exact, and I want to connect it to some kind of in this case, I want to connect it to Power BI. but also I can choose, a variety of destinations, whether it's data warehouses, lakes, other kinds of storages. So I'll go back to the flow here, and I'm going to select Power BI. And of course, I can name this. So for example, if I wanted to do projects to Power BI, or I could even do like exact projects to Power BI. And now I save the flow. You see that the flow has been created. And now I get this information on how to set this up in my Power BI instance. So basically, you just follow these steps. You click on Get Data, fill out this information. It's super simple, and I think Connie also covers it in the video that you're gonna
Yes.
receive.
Right, and this video will be included in the post-webinar email, so all these resources will be delivered to everybody watching.
And if for whatever reason you actually need to see this information again, because what we're doing, we're basically creating an API connection for Power BI to pull the data from us. You can always click on this button, connection details, that will give you the information. So, if you decide, for example, that you want this data in a different report, you can of course do that. So that's it. Pretty simple. But of course, now that we have this data, we should celebrate, right? We should be happy. And I'm not sure, not really. As Kobe Bryant said, there's no reason to celebrate. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but the job's not finished yet. So what's there to celebrate? Basically, now that we have the data, we need to build our dashboard, or we need to analyze the data. And this can be quite easy, or it can be quite complex based on what you are trying to do. And that's why we actually like to work with companies like the reporting agency, like Dennis and Connie here, who actually know how to build the data model, how to present the data, and basically they provide all these services on top of what Dataddo is doing. So
Right.
I'm passing the word back to Jack.
Okay, thank you very much, Marek. Before we move on, does anybody have any questions from the audience? Feel free to type them in. If you would like to see something demonstrated, for example, by Dennis and Hani, now they would be happy to take any requests if you have any specific questions. But yeah, without any further ado, let's move to the dashboard demonstration. So Dennis and Hani, assuming we have our data flowing to Power BI, maybe you could show us some dashboards. Tell us a little bit about what we can do with the data once it gets to Power BI.
Yeah, what I would actually like to do is show you some different dashboards. Of course, the ones that you will be receiving afterwards, but also some others. Not to go through it into detail, because for the exact dashboard, I will let you go through it on your own in your own time. But also to inspire you into what elements can be combined into one report. Now let's first look at the exact dashboards. Let me just share my screen. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, so you should see my screen now. Yeah.
Yep.
Iets naar wat ik het ook kan lezen. So the first sheet, you have a number of KPIs. So the turnover, the red line is the turnover of last year. By the way, this is all mock data as well. And then the last year number is showing here at the bottom. So you always measure towards the target is this you always measure versus the target. And your last year number is for reference. In here you can click on to show a number of different graphs. Now what you will see is that I have opened it in Power BI desktop. This is also the way that you guys will be able to view it later on at home or at work. You cannot share the presentation, or you cannot share the report as is. You need a Power BI license for that, but in desktop you can see your data, and you can view all of the charts and graphs that we have included. So what else is in there? There's a balance sheet, a profit and loss statement, some graphs, some numbers on receivables, and operating costs. So actually a lot of different numbers that you can analyze. And now if one of the possibilities in Power BI, for example, is filtering, what I mentioned before. So if I would click on one of the elements, you will see that it filters all of the other visuals right away. But then I would like to also show you another report where we combine a number of different sources, because these are actually all based on exact data. Now the cool part is that if you run through the steps that Marek just has explained and you load it into it, that you can immediately see all your data in this dashboard. But let me just go to our websites. Can you see? Yeah. Hold on. So, and then I can log in here. So this is the way a customer of ours will see their data. You can log into their own environment, have multi-factor authentication, of course. So, and then they come into their own environment. We will add, of course, the logo here, and I can view all of the reports. Now, what I would like to show you is the production report. And this production report is actually combining a number of different data points. You can see turnover here, hours here, cost analysis, and issues in delivery. So I won't go into detail into what the visuals are or how the data is, but I would like you to show you that if you combine various sources, you can really create one comprehensive report for all of your business processes. So it combines 4 different sources, a calculation sheet per project. It's a project management company that we're talking about. The financial numbers that are related to a specific week, the hours spent on the projects they perform, and some projects in delivery issues. So it's an example of being able to analyze this data. Again, here I can click on certain elements, and you can see that I can quickly, as a user, make all kind of analysis where the outliers are. Let me just go to another report. It's an agricultural business, and this report combines 4 different sources. You have an API link to a production system, a financial system, an HR, and some budgets in Excel. You can see that this report is much bigger. It has a financial part, but also a sales part, employees, quality. Let me just quickly show you the customer report. So this is what a report could look like, showing for a specific customer what the share is versus the total revenue, what the average price and the margin is. Through the buttons, you can switch between different measures, all possibilities that are giving you the tools to analyze your data yourself.
Maybe the HR dashboard, so it's nice.
Yeah. So let me go through the, we have this is the sick leave. With the sick leave until the current month, again, versus targets, how what percentage is long sick leave versus short. So yeah, some data about that. And I would like to show you the scenario.
She's very proud of this one. And she should be.
Yeah. So what this does, it's actually a dashboard to analyze the impact of increasing certain prices. For example, the gas price. In the cost price, you normally have 42 cents per cubic meter included in the cost price of this product. Now, you all know that the gas prices have gone through the roof the last year. So this company was able to analyze the impact of a higher gas price on their margin. So this is a margin before the gas increase, and this is the margin afterwards. So you can also analyze what months are the most profitable. You can see that the share of gas is increasing, and you have some automated text explaining what is happening. So it actually higher price of gas cost this company 46 cents per sold products. So it's a nice way of being able to give your employees the tools to analyze data themselves. Yeah.
Thank you, Honey. I have one question. A lot of what we saw on these dashboards is Dutch, but if I understand correctly, it's also about the configuration of language in your source system. So if you configure differently, you could see it all in English as well, right?
Yes. So for Exact, yes, that's entirely true. Yes, correct. And but also for the other dashboards, most of the dashboards, the labels are of course are entered by the developer. But the data in the Exact dashboard, for example, in the P&L, if your source system shows data in English, it will show up in English as well, also in the template that you're receiving. Yeah, good question.
Got it. Okay. Well, I think before we get into the final part of this webinar, which is going to be some talk about our free bundle, maybe Dennis, would you maybe summarize, make a couple of quick points of actionable takeaways about building smarter financial dashboards?
I think lots have been said. I think if you look at how to build a smarter financial dashboard, you can, let's say, agree on 9 steps. But I think that there's some of them important, some of them less important. But I think to start with, it is important to really understand who your stakeholders are, who your users are, and what are you going to do with the information. And if we talk with our customers, it's our first questions, and 9 out of 10, they don't know the answer. So you really need to help them in answering those questions. What is your strategic direction? What is your plan? What is your business plan? What are your KPIs you want to take action on, or you want to improve on? And really starts with that. And I think most of the time this step is passed. So and then you start building something, and at the end say, well, we don't need that, or we can't use it, or it doesn't add any value, or we miss a context to it. And you first need to find the context to that, and it starts with determining your stakeholders and what they really like to see. Of course, you need to agree on standard definitions and calculations in your source system. Determine your KPIs to measure strategy and define targets as part of step 1 as well. Step 4 would be automate as much as possible your data extraction process. And of course, as we said, Power BI is very useful for that, but also the Power Apps and Power Automate environment is really good for helping that and making your life much easier and saving time.
Yeah, not only extracting, but also transforming it into the right measures. And
Yeah. And I think it's also important, if do you want to do yourself, or are you going to use external sources for that? And most of companies, they said they are quite stubborn and they want to do it themselves, but at most of the time it's about time, it's about priorities, and people can catch up with the daily activities and are not able to work on those projects. And that's why we think it's more important to have an outsider asking different questions, having more experience with those processes, and I think at the end you're cheaper in outsourcing those processes. Determine time path, free up enough resource and funds, of course. Create a mock-up of dashboard and validate with users. And once you have visualized and managed dashboards, people really are dragged into it and really like it, and they want to see more and more and more and more. And that's also important to validate that continuously with your user. And again, it's all about start simple and build on that. As I just said, if people or the customers or the internal stakeholders see what you can do with Power BI or with those dashboards, with the information they have, they want to have more and more and more and more. And that's not always necessary or smart thing to do. Just build up slowly, start simple, and get used to the environment and the process behind it, and then slowly build up on that.
Okay, perfect.
And of course, don't wait, get started as soon as possible.
Right, no need to wait. Does anyone have any questions about that for either Marek or Dennis and Honey? Okay, so I think we can basically, I think one question that we didn't answer, and which everyone will be asking, is it's nice to see the tips and tricks and how things work, but how much does all of this cost, at an entry level, and what will you be getting today for free? So we have a little free package for you. Maybe Marek, you could start and tell us a little bit about Dataddo pricing and what we'll be giving participants of this webinar.
Yep. With Dataddo, we have a 14-day free trial, so you can actually test everything, risk-free. You can make sure that we basically give you all the functionalities of the platform, so you can really experiment with it, make sure it's the right thing for you and for your team. Actually, for the participants of this webinar, we're gonna be extending the free trial, so you guys are actually going to get 30 days of the free trial. And after the free trial is up, we also have a free plan, which is free forever. It allows you to connect up to 3 sources. There's only a weekly sync, but I think for some companies it might be enough. And
Dashboards only, no data warehouses.
And it's only for only for dashboards and Google Sheets. So no connections to data warehouses. And of course, if you decide to go for a paid plan, it starts at 99 euros or $99 per month. And of course, depending on how many sources you're going to need, but based on our experience, usually companies start really with the smaller plans, and when they have a need for something more extensive, they can of course upgrade. But there is no need to start at the highest plan, because you will see for yourself how much you're going to need to use the platform.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, Jack, on our side, of course, we will make the dashboard for ExactOnline in Power BI available, so people can start playing with it and can use it. And there's an instruction video attached to it, and I think that is a nice starting point to get to know with Power BI and how it works in connection with Dataddo. So that's for free. If we start designing and developing in co-makership with our clients dashboards, we ask for an initial investments, and that really depends on the complexity of the data model behind it,
Sure.
Number of sources, etc., etc. So I can't put a price on that, but you can imagine that it will cost several days to make it happen. And then if we host the management dashboards or the management reports in our Power BI environment, it depends on the number of users. Again, depends on the complexity, and it's a weekly update, a daily update, monthly update. But typically, you should expect a fee of 150 euros per month, and up until 400 or 500 euros per month. So it depends on the complexity, and that's a 1-year subscription.
Okay. Super. Thank you for that information. Yeah, Marek, Dennis, Honey, do you have any final comments?
No, I really enjoyed the meeting and the webinar. So I'm curious about the feedback, and see you soon. Hope to see you soon.
So I'll just summarize in saying everyone's going to get an email, post-webinar email with a recording, a Power BI management dashboard from the reporting agency. A simple template. and the instruction video that Honey recorded for connecting data to Power BI. So does anyone have any final questions they'd like answered before we close it out for today? I don't see any. So with that, I thank you all for being here. Thank you, Marek, Dennis, Honey. Thanks to everyone who participated, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fun.
Bye-bye.
And I think
Bye.
I can speak for everyone. If you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know. Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.